Alright, I have already made this video before, but I think I'm gonna make another video diving deeper into this topic. And I pretty much just want to explain why it is that Nintendo prices their video games so high. And why is it that we never see them do any kind of permanent price reductions. Last time Nintendo had ever done permanent price drops, it was with the Nintendo Wii, and we saw games go from $50 down to $20. They don't do that anymore, and in fact, the man who started this trend was Satoru Iwata. The late and great Satoru Iwata, the one that a lot of people on the internet pretend to love so much, but yet they were crapping on him when he was actually alive. He's actually the one who said that it wasn't a good idea to do permanent price drops because it would condition the gamers to just wait for the price to drop, and thus Nintendo losing potential profits and whatnot. So, all thanks to Satoru Iwata, Nintendo doesn't drop the prices of their video games, but there are other better reasons why they do not drop the prices and why they don't release games at $40 and whatnot. The number one reason they do this is because they only want you buying their console and their video games. They're not going to make their video games cheap, so you can go buy PlayStation and then buy video games on PlayStation. You could buy an Xbox and then buy video games for that Xbox. So let's just break it down. If you only buy a Nintendo console and only play Nintendo video games, you're more likely to buy 100 video games in that life cycle, about 8 years or whatever, which is way more money for them. That's way more profitable. Whereas if you're one of these multi-console gamers who always cry about the prices being too high, you're probably only going to get 35 games for Nintendo, 35 for Xbox, and 35 for PlayStation. Now, what do you think Nintendo would rather you do? Of course, they would rather you purchase their system and no other system. Their games only and no other games. Now, of course, this is just an example. It could be 50 games, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, Nintendo only wants you buying their console and their video games. If Nintendo makes their games cheap for you like they did during the Nintendo Wii era, you guys are going to use the extra money you have to purchase a PlayStation and an Xbox and then buy a bunch of games for those systems. And because Nintendo are the top dogs right now in gaming, they're not going to give you that satisfaction. They're going to make it difficult for you because they already know that they have hundreds of millions of people in the world who only play Nintendo, and they're only going to buy Nintendo video games. So they could care less about you multi-console gamers crying about them being too expensive. Either shut up and get rid of your other consoles and stick with Nintendo, or just suck it up and keep spending your money on all these games. Because here's the deal. If you only play on Nintendo and only play Nintendo video games, you're not going to have any issue when it comes to being able to afford all of these games, all right? So let's just say that Nintendo makes about 24 AAA first-party games every single year, right? 1 or 2 games every month, right? Let's just pretend they do that. And let's pretend that all 24 of those games all cost $70 each, every single one of them. And you want to purchase every single one of them, guess what? You're only going to be paying $1,680. That should be affordable for a lot of people. Now, if that's not something you can afford, then I don't know, maybe you should probably take your job more seriously. You should probably work a second job. You should probably try to get a promotion. Stop being lazy. Stop doing the bare minimum. Most of you guys put way more effort into crying about Nintendo because that's how lazy you are. You know that doing that is gonna get you a bunch of views on YouTube. How about you take all that energy and use it into getting a promotion at work? Just saying. Now, of course, a lot of you gamers are very spoiled, entitled, and you just want indulgence. You want to be able to indulge in every single video game that comes out. You gotta have the latest video game that everybody's talking about. And so you have to own every single video game console so you can play every single video game. Let's just say you're trying to do that. You're trying to get every single game that comes out, and that could be anywhere from 50 to 100 AAA games. There's also the indie games, very popular indie games that you want to have. you're more likely now to be paying $7,000 a year just to have this insane library of video games. Now, of course, a lot of you are not going to do that. There probably are people who do pay that much for video games, and they are probably the same ones that are always complaining and wishing these companies, these studios, will lower the price of their video games because you are entitled and you think that you deserve to just own every single game that comes out. Doesn't work that way though. Nintendo understands that you guys cannot afford to have every single game that comes out. And they also understand that they are the best when it comes to making video games. So that's why they price their video games very high, because they're not going to give you guys the opportunity to be able to afford video games on PlayStation. And that is the reason you're seeing many people not carry over from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. Nobody's really buying a PlayStation 5 that much. I mean, if you look at the sales, the Switch is still outselling the PlayStation 5 in Japan by thousands of units. Why? Because they know they can't afford every single console, every single video game, and so they're just gonna stick with the ones who make the best video games by default, and that is Nintendo. That is a fact, that is objective, you can't argue. Nintendo makes the greatest video games. As a matter of fact, Nintendo's worst video games are actually better than PlayStation's best video games. That's also. Don't believe me? Okay, well, let's take PlayStation 5's best video game, the video game that won Game of the Year for 2024, that game being Astro Bot. Let's take that piece of trash and let's compare it to Kirby Star Allies. Kirby Star Allies, which is a game that many people said was mediocre compared to every other Kirby game before and after it. That game sold 4.55 million copies, whereas Astro Bot, the so-called Game of the Year, only sold 2 million copies. And it's not just because Astro Bot is a trash game that just copies and imitates Nintendo video games. It's also because of the fact that many gamers out there are just sticking with Nintendo because they know Nintendo makes the best games by default. And you know what? Kirby Star Allies actually is a better game than Astro Bot. It's way more fun. It's way better. Astro Bot, I mean, this is a robot who has zero personality. His own fictional universe is just very fake. It's not really his own universe. It's basically just a homage to PlayStation video games, and that's it. That's all Astro Bot is. And so even though a piece of trash like Astro Bot won Game of the Year, that doesn't really just, fool people into thinking it's a better game. People recognize quality when they see it, and that's why Kirby Star Allies, even though it's arguably a very disappointing Kirby game, still sold double the amount of copies that Astro Bot did. Even a smaller budget mid-game like Zelda Echoes of Wisdom outsold Astro Bot in its first month. That's pretty pathetic. But of course, like I said, the reason Astro Bot didn't really sell well and PlayStation isn't selling well at all is because people are sticking with Nintendo. They realize that they are the best video game company, they have the best video games, and because they're expensive, well, people are just gonna stick with them. They're not gonna bother trying to chill out more money for a damn PlayStation and Xbox. Now, in case some angry goofball out there who calls himself a vigilante tries to argue and say, no, Nintendo is screwing their own fans over and people are gonna buy less games because their video games are too expensive. If they would lower the price, then they'd be able to sell more games. If somebody tries to make that stupid argument, here's all I have to say to that. Look at all of the first-party sales for the Nintendo Wii and compare them to all of the first-party sales for the Nintendo Switch. And guess who sold far more? Nintendo Switch games, first-party Nintendo Switch games, completely dominated first-party games on the Nintendo Wii, even though games were cheaper on the Nintendo Wii, and they had permanent price reductions on the Nintendo Wii. Let me just show you. All right, we got Wii Sports. Now, Wii Sports doesn't count because it was obviously bundled in with every single Wii console out there, or at least 99% of them. But yeah, they sold 82 million, but let's ignore that because it was a bundle. Mario Kart Wii sold 37 million. All right, that's pretty good. Wii Sports Resort, 33 million. New Super Mario Bros. Wii, 30 million. Wii Fit Plus, which is I guess 2 different games, 43 million combined. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, 13 million. Super Mario Galaxy, 13 million. And Zelda Twilight Princess, 9 million. So as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games on the Nintendo Wii that had double digits in the millions. And then you get to Zelda Twilight Princess, which is 9 million. So now let's compare that with first party games for the Nintendo Switch. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold 70 million copies. Animal Crossing, 48 million. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, 36 million. Zelda Breath of the Wild, 32 million. Tears of the Kingdom, 26 million. Super Mario Odyssey, 27 million. Pokemon Sword and Shield, 26 million. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, 24 million. Super Smash Bros. Wonder, 13 million. Luigi's Mansion 3, 13 million. Splatoon 3, 13 million. Ring Fit Adventure, 15 million. Super Mario Party, 19 million. And we finally get to the first game that doesn't have double digits in the millions, and that is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which sold 7 million copies. All right, so as you all can see, far more first-party games for Nintendo Switch sold in the double digits in the millions than games did for the Nintendo Wii. Let's just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so 13 first-party games on Nintendo Switch have sold more than 10 million copies. Far more, that's like more than double than what first-party games did on the Nintendo Wii. That is far more video game sales, despite the fact that they never really had any price reductions. So there you go. Another reason that Nintendo doesn't drop the prices of their video games, they don't do any permanent price drops, is because they are making far more money, and it's because more people are buying more of their games more than ever. Nintendo Wii was doing some serious price reductions, permanent price drops on their video games. Their video games will go from either $60 to $50 down to $30 or $20. And as you all saw, despite that, their games didn't sell nearly as many copies as first-party games did on the Nintendo Switch 2. That is a fact. So you cannot try to make this argument and say that, well, if Nintendo would make their games cheaper and their console cheaper, more people will buy more of their games. No, they wouldn't. And I just showed you why. Because those people would take all those extra money so they can buy PlayStation games and buy Xbox games because, you know, they want to experience those more powerful games or whatever because, you know, they're very stupid and short-sighted. The Switch 2 right now is more than capable of playing all of these other games, and yet you still got people out there who are multi-console gamers who keep saying, yeah, I'm going to get that for the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox or PC, blah, blah, blah. And they're just going to continue getting first-party games on their Switch. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine if they want to do that, but they just need to shut their mouths and quit crying about Nintendo jacking up the prices of their video games. You don't deserve to have their video games at a very low price. You don't deserve it. They don't owe you it. If you want to keep spending money on games that are on PlayStation and Xbox, Nintendo doesn't have to make it easy for you. They shouldn't make it easy for you. And you know what? If it really is too hard to afford all of these games, and you know what? You can sell your PlayStation, you can sell your Xbox, you can sell whatever garbage games you have on those consoles that you only bought so you can do a review over it. You can sell all those games and just stick with the superior platform. And that'll solve all your problems. You do not need to buy a PlayStation 5 just to play a piece of trash like Astro Bot, because even Nintendo's worst video games are better than that game. Doesn't matter if they won Game of the Year, that doesn't mean anything. Nintendo's, cheap games are better than that game. You also don't need to be buying any of these third-party games because most of those are garbage too. I mean, come on, Assassin's Creed Shadows, who the hell really wanted to play that? So, yeah, stick with Nintendo. Just buy Nintendo consoles only, buy Nintendo games only, and you're gonna have the best gaming experience, and it's not gonna cost too much at all. You're gonna be able to easily afford every single video game that comes out. Hey, you'll be able to afford all of the amiibos as well. Now, whether you agree or disagree with me, go ahead and hit like, leave as many comments as you can, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I don't care if you dislike me, do it anyways because it will help this channel grow. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this? And I will talk with you guys later. See ya.